over everything. They do this in prime time, under the bright lights for you on the sidelines. The fans in the stands keeping doubly bright high. The gridiron fly guys, the green and the gold, yeah, they call it the franchise. The gizmos, miles, the moves, the Cavaliers, old spaghetti legs, Ricky Ray, Willie Bless, and whoever comes next to bring back the chip and add another brick to the legacy. Cause it's double E over everything. Double E is a legacy. Double E over everything. Double E, we rising up.
The Edmonton Elks enter the second half of their season in a place this city hasn't seen in recent years, and that's sitting atop the division. But there's a catch. Edmonton returns home having dropped 2 straight, and now the mission is simple: right the ship. Over at Play Alberta Field at Commonwealth Stadium, the Elks welcome the Toronto Argonauts to town, with Edmonton looking to prove that this first half surge was no fluke. The secondary, they have something to prove after getting burned in Montreal, but there's no easing into this one. Chad Kelly and the dangerous Argos receiving core are looking to bounce or get going early and often. On the other side of the ball, the question remains, is today the day Justin Rankin finally gets rolling once again? Toronto comes in riding a 2-game winning streak, confidence building, vibes, they're all high. But Edmonton, they're looking to send a message to the rest of the CFL that the Elks, they are not a first-half mirage. They're here to stay. Elks, Argos, it's Saturday afternoon football. But first, this is the Commonwealth Stadium Green and Gold Kickoff Show, live right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton Sports, presented by Play Alberta. Thank you to everyone for listening across the Edmonton Sports Talk audio streams at edmontonsportstalk.com. Tune in, iHeartRadio. Thank you for those watching on YouTube. Always welcome to jump in the show in the YouTube chat. That is the Nasty Chatter. You can text us 780-218-9999. Matthew Iwanyk with you as always, and joining me today, it is not Jay Mill. Jay is off. I don't know what he's doing today. I don't know if he's coming back or if he's just out in BC. But Reid Wilkins taking some time to join us here on the Commonwealth Stadium Green and Gold Kickoff and post-game shows today. Reid, how are you?
I'm doing great. I have to tell you, this is my first time ever on a Double E pre- and post-game show as sort of, well, you're the host, but as sort of being there the entire time. I've done hits on shows in the past, certainly at my previous station, but this is the first time being there for the whole show. So even an old dog like me, even the old chew toy under the couch, sometimes finds new adventures. It's pretty cool. Thanks for having me.
All those years. How many years again of Oilers? Pre and post, do you remember?
11 seasons.
11 seasons.
Yes.
Well, it makes sense. Like, hey, great. Dave does great stuff, or he did for a long time. I don't know who the host is generally over there now. But yeah, you've got your summers. You always had your summers to you. You needed those. So we're happy, though, to have you. You could teach me a thing or two about running a pre- and a post-game show, because there's a lots to still learn from these. Absolutely, I can, Reid. You are outstanding, and we're looking forward to having you on the Oil Stream pre- and post-game shows for part of the season coming up with the Oilers this year. But we got Elks, we got Argos tonight. Beautiful weather. We'll get to all of that. How was it for you cutting to this stadium? Because, look, there was a lot of discussion going into the Saskatchewan Roughriders game. Tickets were selling, going over 30,000. It was great vibes. Now Toronto comes to town. Not a sexy team that's coming. What did you feel about walking towards, the Community Rec Center, which we are for this?
Well, I've been impressed with the tailgate. I mean, I walked through that, or I guess kind of just skirted the edge today. But I was there at about 11:35 when I was walking through, and there was already a good vibe. Like, people are there. You can hear the band playing. It has become a thing.
Yes.
I mean, I remember... I was going to say 20 years ago, probably even 10 years ago, that was the parking lot. I mean, you'd walk through there and it's like, where's Mike Riley parked today? Because he had that big yellow, was it the Humvee?
He had the Hummer.
Or whatever?
He had the Hummer. He had the yellow Hummer.
That big vehicle. So that was, I think, the players' parking lot, and maybe some fans had passes there. And I know you still hear people say, like, oh, they've used up too many parking. But I think the tailgate has been a positive thing. I saw a couple Argos fans walking around, a guy with a big Argo flag, so we'll probably hear the old Argos maybe from a couple people in the crowd today. But yeah, the tailgate's a good vibe. The weather's beautiful today, which is nice because we've had we had the rain-soaked Montreal game, we had the rain-delayed Montreal game. And was there another game where
for home opener,
a little bit?
Home opener was complete rain.
Yeah.
Ottawa, it was a bad forecast and it wasn't the greatest. BC was fine, I believe. And then Saskatchewan was the delay at halftime. So I would say 3 out of the 4 games that they've... And then if you go Clark, preseason game, Big delay in that one to start that game as well.
Yeah,
So if you go back to even
awful,
that one, so that they've had very poor weather when it comes from a business perspective of trying to get people to come. Today's a beautiful day. And yeah, I'm just impressed with how much energy I have felt for an Argos game coming to town. And that's the stuff you need to see. It's great to get 30,000 when the Riders come to town. They're not coming to town every week.
No.
So you need to be able to do some good things when other teams roll through town. I know from a couple days ago, there's a reporter out in Saskatoon that does a great job following tickets. I don't know how he does it all, Matt Young. And he said 2 days ago in the morning, on Thursday morning, was 20,000-ish sold for the Elks. That's what he kind of was projecting.
Yeah.
So we've had 2 days.
The Elks told me earlier this week it should be over 20.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Well, and if you add in a couple of thousand walk-up for today, all of that, could this team get to 25,000? We will wait and see. But the vibe, I was actually surprised, was rolling in at about 11. And that's when the tailgate kind of gets going. And it seemed like everyone was almost fully set up and getting to go. No one was coming in late for this one. They're wanting to have some fun. It is the Taco Challenge. I forgot the Taco Takeover. The Taco Challenge is going on. Jason and Andrew on the Hangout yesterday talking about that. So there's lots going on there. But we also have a football game. That is coming up just after 1 o'clock as the Elks will take on the Toronto Argonauts. Let's take a look at the stellar starting lineup for your Edmonton Elks. For those on YouTube, you can see it on your screen. For everyone else, Cody Fajardo behind center once again. Bordner, O'Donnell, Beard, Boyko, and Murray are the men protecting him from left to right. The receiving core, Mack, Cephas, O'Leary, Orange, Luther, and Julian Grant. Rankin running back, Griffith, the fullback. On the defensive line, Carney, Brinkman, Mayer, and Taylor. Anderson, DeBlanco, and Jackson are in the linebacking core. Garns is the safety with Reed, Ross, Johnson, and Ford on either side of him. Blanchard, Julian kicking and punting. Gladix, the long snapper, and Javon Leake once again will handle the return duties. For the injury report, there was concerns about Carter O'Donnell and David Beard. They were questionable going into depth chart day yesterday, but they are in the starting lineup. Kenny Logan Jr., he got banged up last game. He was actually questionable going into last week's game against Montreal. Ended up playing, getting hurt in that one. Good news for the Edmonton Elks on that perspective is he's only been placed on the 1 game. He hasn't been placed on the 6 game. So maybe Kenny Logan Jr. will be back a little bit sooner. And Tamori Fox, though, he's been placed on the 6 game, having gotten hurt last week as well. As for the Toronto Argonauts, once again, the depth chart's on the screen for those on YouTube. Chad Kelly, the starting quarterback. They have 4 wide receivers that are all on pace for 1,000 yards. Unfortunately for them, good news for the Elks. Mackay Polk, he's out of this game with an injury. Good news for the Argos, though. Jake Herslow, who was an unbelievable second-half target for the Toronto Argonauts last year, he hasn't drawn into a game yet this year. He's going to get back into action for the Argos today, so they've got some great receiver depth. Former Edmonton Elk going up against his team. Kongbo on the defensive line for the Argos, also defensively. They've got Cam Judge in that linebacking core. He's been around for quite a bit. You mentioned the weather there, Reed. It is 20 degrees scheduled, forecasted for kickoff, ending the game end about 23 degrees and sunny the whole day. To come on the show, we got the Play Alberta Game Day odds check. We'll hear from Tyrell Ford, Elks secondary player, keys to an Elks victory, as well as possibly predictions for this one. But let's get to our kickoff question. And usually I just throw this one to Jay Milne. He doesn't know what's coming. He just answers. I don't know if you've seen the tweet.
No, I haven't.
Perfect. As we head to the second half of this season for the Edmonton Elks, based on what you've seen from the first half, what are your expectations now for this team? Twitter, only limited options. So these are the 4 options I have created.
Okay. Am I allowed to vote?
You can go vote all you want.
Oh, nice.
But I would love your thoughts on air. Grey Cup appearance, to host the West final, to host the West semifinal, or it's just making the playoffs. That's it. That's all. Just make sure you make the playoffs.
What are your expectations for this team?
Yes.
Well, I mean, my hope is a Grey Cup victory.
Yeah.
What are my expectations for the team?
How are you going to judge this team now as we go down the second half of this season?
I'm honestly at the point, I'm going to vote for host West semi, which is a moderate hope. But, I mean, there's a point where you have to not throw away. I mean, that's always part of the history. The pain will be there for fans. But there's a point where the last 5 years aren't relevant. So at the beginning of this season, if you would have told me they were going to be 6-3 at the halfway point, regardless of who the wins and losses are against, I would have been very happy. And they are 6-3, and I am happy with that. I think they've played well. The games they've lost, you can look at things that they had to clean up. I don't think you just say it was hopeless. I mean, Montreal made it look that way a little bit. They're pretty good, but I think you look at this being a very good team. So, I mean, at the beginning of the season, I was like, just get in the playoffs. Even if you get 7 or 8 wins and you sneak in, get in, build some experience, actually have some success. At 6-3, with Calgary at 4-6, BC at 4-5, Winnipeg at 5-4, but still coming to Commonwealth twice, including on Friday, I think it would be. It's very realistic to hope for a West semifinal home game at the very least. I really think that's possible, and especially if they win today. And in terms of the overall standings, I mean, this is what makes this such an interesting game. I already saw somebody put in the Nancy chat, this is a must-win. I hate to tell you this, it's not a must-win. I mean, my former colleague Rob Brown always said, I will never call a game a must-win unless your season ends with a loss.
It's a Game 7 type thing.
Yeah, and I mean, 6-4 would be maybe a bummer after being 6-1 if they lose today, but this is not a must-win.
No.
But here's why this would be an interesting win. Because you'd get to 7-3.
Mm-hmm.
The Riders are expected to get to 7-2 tonight, but we'll see. I don't think Hamilton's a total free space on the bingo card. But if you get to 7-3, you have a 2-win advantage on Winnipeg with a game in hand. You have a 3-win advantage on both BC and Calgary, and BC would have a game in hand. So now you're with 8 games to go, you're in a situation where to get bumped out of a home game playoff spot, like some teams probably going to have to go, 7-2 or 6-2 down the stretch. And the Elks have control over how some of those teams do because they play Calgary twice and they play Winnipeg twice,
Yep.
So, and I know, there's still the odd person, it's going to fall apart. They're going to go 2-7. They're going to go 3-6. But like, it's almost impossible for them to finish last. Like this is the flip of what we've seen in the previous 2 years, where it was, okay, like they had that fun run last year and they got back into the conversation, but they almost had to go undefeated after starting. So they're not undefeated, but they had a 6-3 stretch. They never got into a playoff spot. And this is somewhat of I'll make a bit of an interesting comparison to last year's game against Toronto in Toronto. So it was about 11 months ago. It was actually a year ago. That's weird. Hey, I didn't realize that. A year ago to the day Toronto was here. The Elks won that game to get to 3-6. Now they're hosting Toronto a year later, already 6-3. Then they were playing a little better. They go into Toronto on September 13th with a record of 5-7. Right? They'd won 4 of their previous 5 games. They win that game. They're 6-7. All of a sudden, you're like right there, knocking on a playoff spot. They lose on the last play of the game.
Well, and that's Jared Daggy comes in.
They have a 14-0 lead in the half. Mm-hmm. They give up that field goal at the end of the first half where they took the penalty and screwed up and allowed the punt return, right? And then they have the lead on the last drive and can't win it. And that was a swing game because now you're 5-8. And then you lose the next week in Hamilton, and you're 5.
Which was also a late win for the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Last play, right?
That it's funny how you switch those two. You're 7-7 as opposed to 5-9.
Right. So now this is a swing game in a different way because I don't think it cripples your playoff hopes if you lose today. I really don't. But a win today really solidifies you. I mean, in any sport, if you win 70% of your games, I guess maybe unless you're trying to be a championship boxer, like that's pretty good. Like if you get to 7-3, right? You put a little pressure on Saskatchewan to win tonight if they want to stay in first place. So it's a critical game. It's a swing game, but in a different way. I'm not going to be if we're here in 3 hours or 4 hours and they've lost, I'm not going to be all doom and gloom. I'm going to be like, hey, they got to keep working. But if they win and bounce back from the 2 losses and put a little more separation between the other 3 teams in the West, that could be a real swing in their favor.
Yeah, and part of this is like why I add what we saw over the first half is this is a good football team. What we saw them beat the Saskatchewan Roughriders. We've seen them beat the Montreal Alouettes. They have beaten a couple of very good teams. We saw them lose a very close one to the Riders, which was a winnable game for this team. They don't take a couple penalties. They capitalize on a couple of their mistakes. They win that football game instead. Last week, Montreal just showed that they are at another level right now. But we've seen some really good football from this team. Before last week, they were in every single football game. And with where they are, at the start of the year, I was with you. It's just make the playoffs this year. You just got to get into the playoffs. But now it's changing where I think you've got to host a playoff spot, because if you don't, it also means you've had a rather bit of a collapse in the second half of the season. And I do think this team is better than having that type of collapse. I also like, when we look at the history of the last couple of years, 12 wins could win you the division, 11 wins could get you a home playoff date.
Yep.
So I'm going to use 11 for this, because I'm with you. I would host, my expectation now would be host at least the West Semi. I am surprised that 40% of the people, and this is where the most of the vote has gone, is just makes playoffs anyways, which I also do understand. It's, this team needs to just get to the playoffs. Like, don't throw too many expectations too soon on this team. But I'm going to, if they go 5-4 the rest of the way, which is just above 500, they're hosting a playoff game. Then they would be 11 wins at that point. So now I'm going to break the season down into 2-game stretches. Outside of, there'll have to be a 3-game stretch somewhere, just to make the math work. And to me, it's okay. Can you win 2 of these? One of these next 2. You got Toronto, Winnipeg. Can you take 1? And that's where, if you win today, pressure off a little bit next week. Not saying you don't want to go win that, but great, you're in a good spot. Can you go split Calgary? You then get a Toronto, Hamilton stretch in there. Can you take 2 out of 3 of those? And then you get Winnipeg, Saskatchewan. Then can you get a split there? You're at 11 wins. That I think is very reasonable for what this team could, and shown that they can go do. So I'm actually still impressed that people are sitting there going, just make the playoffs. Like, I think Johnny Ashton, he said it in the Nasty Chat. I would just be thrilled to see them in the playoffs, even in a crossover. And again, that's where I'm glad there are some people that I just want to see this team back in the playoffs. It's been too long. They've missed it for 5 straight years. But I think based on what I've seen this season, with how good Cody Fajardo is, with how good Justin Rankin can be, with how good this defense is, because I do think they have one of the best defenses in the Canadian Football League, that is good enough to go get you a couple more victories this season, and you should be staying in the West. Like, if there's a crossover, to me, we'll have a lot of criticisms of what happened in the second half, if that's the case.
If they fall down to 4th,
yes,
that'd be disappointing. But, I mean, not to look past this game, because they want to end the 2-game losing streak.
Yes.
But Friday's game is especially critical, because if you beat Winnipeg, you have the season series.
Yeah, the season series. You create a little more separation.
You'd really be potentially 3 games ahead.
Yes.
Even if it's a 2-win lead, if they also win today.
And they don't look special.
No,
Brady had a big game yesterday.
Had an incredible peak. They're not. I mean, they were a crossover team last year.
Yep. I just thought I would see more from them yesterday with Zach back, and then I don't want to go into it fully with somebody else's career, but he took that one hit and it looked like he was done. And I don't know. Okay, but I don't know how much of the game.
I didn't see that one.
He got absolutely crushed on a blind side, and he missed like 3 plays, came back out there, and it was just one of those. At some point, we're going to see this guy not get up. And it's just, we're going to know the career's over, and we almost had that one yesterday. But we will see how this all plays out. We've got Jay Milne, GG, in the Nasty Chat. I don't know, some random guy, I guess. Ranking the damn ball. This is a gotta have it. Looking and sounding great, boys. Enjoying the show from the beaches of Sicamous. So there's the man that you work with every day from Monday until Friday on the Reid Wilkins Show with Jay Milne. He's piping in. So hello, Jay, and hello to his family. We need to get to our Play Alberta game day odds check for Play Alberta. Download the app, visit them, playalberta.ca/EST for more details. All the money staying in Alberta. So check them out, and we also load it up with EST specials all the time. The Edmonton Elks, 3.5-point favorites going into this game, minus 179 on the money line. The over-under is set at 62.5. We do have some specials that are up there. The Nasties asked for this one, so the Rankin runs wild. Justin Rankin, 2 anytime touchdowns. That is plus 300. I've built the play. It's the big play of the game. It's Elks minus 2.5. Fajardo, 275 passing yards. Luther with 50 receiving yards. Mack with 60 receiving yards. And Rankin getting 60 rushing yards. That is plus 560.
You really went for it there.
Yeah, but if this is going to be a high-scoring game, a little bit of, it's going to be spread. If Cody's getting almost 300 yards, over 300 yards passing, Luther and Mack are going to have some decent games, I would think, and Rankin going to get going. We also have the Elks Argos battle that both Huss and I built yesterday in the lock shop. Elks to win on the money line. Jake Herslow over 30.5 receiving yards. Fajardo and Chad Kelly both 2 passing TDs. It is plus 1,000. for that one. So you can get those only Play Alberta clicking on EST specials. Still to come, we'll hear from Tyrell Ford and get to our keys to an Elks victory. But let's get to our 3 stories of this game right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports. And then, Brandon saying Elks don't win today. Friday's game gets very interesting. But I'll say if the Elks win today, Friday's game gets also very interesting because you go win that game too, as Reid was saying, what type of separation that creates you, and you get this victory. My storyline number 1 going into this game, it is focused on Justin Rankin, and this is a guy who, as the running back and receiver for this team to start the year, he was absolutely dominant. He was putting up unreal numbers. We were looking at 1,000 and 1,000 in terms of 1,000 receiving, 1,000 rushing yards. He at one point, I think through 4 or 5 weeks, was like 150, 175 yards above the second best rusher in the Canadian Football League. He now sits 4th in the Canadian Football League in rushing. Over the last 2 games, he's only had 15 carries and 2 catches total in those 2 games. However, he still is averaging almost 6.5 yards per carry, which would put him second in the Canadian Football League. Is today the day Justin Rankin goes off?
I think there's the potential for that. Here's what I'm thinking about Rankin and his usage, and sometimes his lack of usage. Because as the game got out of hand for the Elks last week, really in the third quarter, he wasn't getting the ball. After the Mac fumble, he didn't really see the ball. And I realize it's hard to commit to running the ball if you think that the game's getting out of hand and you need points in a hurry.
Well, it was a 17-point
But the game
deficit.
wasn't quite. But before it got to 17, though, it was still out of hand. You still needed to drive the ball. And as we know, Rankin was getting was well over 5 yards a carry. I mean, he was getting, I can't remember the stats from last week. So I'm going to present perhaps an unpopular and on the surface illogical opinion.
Okay.
If I may, Matt.
That's always a great start.
I don't think that second and medium or even second and long needs to be a passing down for the Elks if they want to keep Rankin involved. And we know his capability of reeling off big plays. If it's 2nd and 7, why can't that be a running play to Rankin? Like, you can't just take him out of the equation. I don't think it can be like, they handed it off to Rankin on first down and he got 3 yards, so we know they're going to throw. I think it has to be like they might go back to him because they know that he could break a 14-yard run. They know that he could break a run that could be more gain more yardage than a passing play. So I realize when an offensive coordinator calls a running play on 2nd and long and it doesn't work, it's like, why would you run the ball?
Seems like you're giving up on the drive.
But I don't think that is a give up play when you're giving it to Rankin. The O-line was better last week. If there are holes there. On 2nd and 7, toss it out to him. Give it to him. Let him find some room. Let the offensive line go to work. And if it's stuffed, okay, it's like an incompletion. Sometimes that'll happen. But I just think that that he needs to be a consideration for the defense on every single down, even as a runner. I mean, sure, 2nd and 8, they might be worried about a screen or a pass to him because he can also get out there and pass. But I think he needs to be a threat to run the ball on every single down. That Toronto needs to be thinking, okay, whatever, it's 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9, they still might give it to Rankin. We have to make sure he's not getting the handoff before we worry about other things.
Yeah, I wish I could find a breakdown of how it is with the Elks do run or pass in situations. The Edmonton Elks this year have had 199 second down conversions attempts. 105 of them have been 2nd and 7 or long, which is over almost 53% of their second down conversions have been attempted from 7 or longer. I would have to guess, if I had to look at those numbers, probably of those 105, at least 100 or so have been some sort of passing play. And at the same time, like I love that thought process because, like, imagine if the Elks are driving in this first quarter today. They get a couple first downs. They're at their own 50. It's 2nd and 7, and you run the ball with Rankin. Okay, he only gets 4 yards. You're punting. But now the Argos know, okay, well, the next time the Elks are in a 2nd and long, could they give it to Justin Rankin? Right. And maybe one more time later, you fake it to Rankin, but you pitch it to Leak or something, and he takes it on the outside. And now it's okay on second down. They're not afraid to do anything. They're not afraid to go any spot in their playbook. We got to creep up a little bit. Then all of a sudden, third, fourth quarter comes, you do a play action there. Or you just throw, and maybe it opens things up. It's when you have a guy like Justin Rankin, you just have to find a way to get him, used and mixed in. And I love that because what your idea is, because it does change the way the Toronto defensive coordinator is going to have to handle things, but it's also mixing in Justin Rankin. And last week, if you look at the second half, he rushed the ball in their first carry, the Elks. Got a holding penalty, Mac fumbles, they lose possession. Next drive, he had 2 carries. Next play, Cody throws an interception, 17-point ball game. There's only 2 minutes left in the third quarter. Mm-hmm. I understand why they didn't run with Justin Rankin the rest of that game. But I don't understand why they didn't try to mix Justin Rankin in more the rest of that game, because he could just be a threat catching the ball. He could be a catch, a guy that you throw it to in the flat. Right. We saw it against BC. You could just line him up as a receiver and let him go. You have to find ways to mix in and utilize Justin Rankin because he is your best offensive threat. And he could do a lot of things. But I think your idea there, Reid, of testing Toronto, and we want that creativity from Maksimic, doing things that maybe sometimes are a little illogical. Like, if this was the Elks of a couple years ago, that just doesn't make sense. You don't have that playmaker. Mm-hmm. Justin Rankin on a 2nd and 8. Who's to say he can't break that for 10, 15
exactly,
minutes?
Yeah.
Or and even if it's, you just need to get to maybe 2nd and 1 or 3rd and 1. So you need, on an 8-yard play, you need him to get 7. This year he's averaging 6.4 yards per carry. So if you are within 2nd and 8 or closer, he's going to get you close or get you that first down.
Yeah. Yeah, over 6 yards per carry. That's excellent. So how can you can't take him out of the playbook if it's 2nd and 7 or 2nd and 8?
Now, to establish that, I think you have to do that early. But the only thing is, I wouldn't do it in Toronto territory. Like, if you have a nice drive going.
Oh, I would.
Would you?
Well, why not? Because if you're in field goal range, you're still going to get 3 out of it, and you're still telling Toronto, our playbook is wide open. Our playbook is wide open on 2nd and long or medium. It's not just on 2nd and 3 where our playbook is wide open. I really would, Matthew. I think it needs to be in play. And have the Elks called a draw play this year? They might have called one.
There's very few that we've seen.
How did Saskatchewan put the game away a couple weeks ago? They called a draw on 2nd and long.
There's a few things. Like, we haven't seen. Jay talks a lot about the counter. Have we seen any real counters from the team this year where the offensive linemen come over and you get that counter? We don't see those ones. So there's at times a little bit too much just ranking up the middle or a leak up the middle, and it's time to do some things differently. But I'll add something else on your point of doing some different things with Rankin, like running it on 2nd and long. The Argos are very tough passing or rushing defense as well. They're 3rd in the Canadian Football League. They're right up there with Saskatchewan and BC, who we know had a very good success of containing Justin Rankin. They might do a great job of having Rankin shut down today and maybe on first down. So if you're willing to go, okay, well, we're going to do it on 2nd down. Now all of a sudden they're, hold on. Why are you doing this? Mm-hmm. We weren't expecting this. So that is the first storyline of today's game is can Justin Rankin get going for this Edmonton Elks? It's been a number of weeks since he's really got going on the ground. Again, he's now 4th in rushing in the Canadian Football League, which kind of seemed unheard of going into those games against Toronto or BC, Saskatchewan with where he was. The second story of this game, it's a secondary bounce back. Can we see that bounce back from this Edmonton Elks secondary? Last week, giving up 352 yards, 3 touchdowns to Tyson Philpott. You could almost argue it was 4 because there was pass interference. Ball was placed at the 1, and the Montreal Alouettes punched it in from there. As I mentioned at the start of this show as well, the Toronto Argonauts, they have 4 wide receivers on pace for 1,000 yards receiving. One of them is out in Mytel, but they do get a guy in Jake Herslow coming in who knows how to throw touchdowns. They are the number 1 passing attack in the Canadian Football League. You got a secondary that is still very strong. You got a secondary that is excellent. However, Cordell Jackson moving from the secondary position into the linebacker spot, how's that going to be impacted for what this secondary does? But this is a big thing because Chad Kelly, he's a gunslinger. He knows how to throw that football. He knows that they know how to move this football. Are you worried about the secondary in today's game? Or do you have the confidence that they can bounce back? And look, Montreal and Tyson Philpott and Tyler Snead, they're kind of a cheat code right now that no one can stop.
Yeah, I think the secondary will bounce back. I mean, obviously, was it Tyrell Reid is the new guy
Yes.
at halfback, so that's always a concern when you got a rookie playing there. But and Kenny Logan's been having a good season, but Jackson knows how to play that position. But the Elks lead the CFL in interceptions with 14. Chad Kelly leads the CFL in interceptions with 13. That, to me, that is the eye-popping stat for this game, and that is the obvious storyline. I think if you just want to narrow it down to one thing, obviously there's a lot of nuance and it's a complicated game. But if somebody was like, what's the key thing in this game? I'd say, well, the Elks have the most interceptions in the CFL, and Chad Kelly's thrown the most interceptions in the CFL. Like this is the number one power play, or this is the number one PK against the number 30 power play. You know, that's what this translates to. So if that's the story, like if everything else happens as you might expect, the Elks should win the game.
Yeah,
because they should get 2 or 3 interceptions.
There's opportunities to take the ball away today.
Right.
There will be.
So and Chad Kelly will make plays. We know he can make plays. I mean, he's 2,600 yards.
He's on pace for 40 touchdowns and 29 interceptions this season.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like great. It's six. I think it would be on pace for a 6,000 passing yard season as well, with those 40 touchdowns, but 29 interceptions. In fact, he's actually had 2 4-interception games this season. He's won both of them,
which is highly unusual. I don't think that would happen today. I mean, I'm looking at the stats on CFL.ca. He throws an interception every 20th pass, basically. So if he makes 40 attempts today, by the tendencies, the Elks should have 2 interceptions, right? And Fajardo throws an interception about every 75 passes. Like think of that.
Fajardo does a great job holding on to that football and protecting that football and not making those mistakes.
Yeah, like Chad Kelly will make plays. The Argos will make plays, but there should be the opportunity for the Elks secondary to make plays. Now, they had 2 interceptions last week. One of them was off that ill-advised
the Tyler Snead
reverse, that the reverse and then the pass that the Owls tried. But the other one, I mean, you talk about last week's game. They made Davis Alexander look as uncomfortable as ever seen at times in the first half.
Very much
but he's so good. They still scored 20 more points. But that's the interception that he threw to Ford, where Ford knocked it down with one hand and then brought it in. I mean, that they pressured him. They had him on the run. They had him making a risky throw. So I think if you can make Davis Alexander uncomfortable, that you should be able to make Chad Kelly uncomfortable. And I think if you can force Davis Alexander into a couple of risky throws, you can force Chad Kelly into even more risky throws. So that's yes, I think the secondary will bounce back. I do think Toronto will have some big plays through the air, but I also think if Kelly's going to take some risks, that the Elks secondary can jump on it and pick off the ball.
And that's the big thing. And Glue Guy back in the chat says, got to try and make Chad Kelly uncomfortable, forcing the ball, creating the turnovers, then capitalize. And it's that last part, capitalizing too, is important, because it is one of those. Chad Kelly will put the ball in a spot. The Elks have a secondary with players, especially Tyrell Ford and JJ Ross, that can make plays if those balls are put in bad spots. Okay, can the offense capitalize, though, on that next possession? Mm-hmm. You do too many times this season we've seen a team have a turnover or create a turnover, and it's led to only 3 points. This situation today, you got to turn that to 7, because again, this Toronto team, just with how powerful this offense can be, Kelly has 4 games has thrown 4 interceptions, and they won both of them, including last week against the Calgary Stampeders. So if you're the Edmonton Elks, you have to find a way to then capitalize on those. So that's the pressure then back to the offense is, can you go punch that in? Because you have to go do that one. But Chad Kelly will do some things that aren't the best for the Toronto Argonauts, that probably make Mike Miller, their head coach, scratch their head sometimes and go, why are you doing that? And it's up to the Edmonton Elks to make sure that they are on point today and finishing those drives off. And because, look, even last week, there's a reason, and we'll get to this coming up right away here, but there was 3rd and goal from the 6. That was off that Tyrell Ford interception. Mm-hmm. Mark Killam went for it because they needed to capitalize off that, and they weren't able to do that in those first 2 plays. But this is the best secondary in the Canadian, or one of the best secondaries in the Canadian Football League. They had a bad week last week, and I do believe part of that is I just don't know how you stop Philpott and Snead, because there was nothing else happening for the Montreal Alouettes receiving-wise. It was just those two guys with Davis Alexander. So you're going up against a very good receiving core here. I think the Elks did a good job against the Riders receiving core. And I think part of that also going into this Elk secondary, they are a little bit battle-tested with the receiving cores that they've had over the last couple of weeks coming into this one. But again, Coxie, Meitel, Unger, 3 guys that are on pace for 1,000 yards. Jake Herslow draws back in. So Chad Kelly has his weapons that he can throw to and will target. It's up to this secondary and this defense to, one, make Chad Kelly uncomfortable, but force him to make those bad plays and then capitalize on those bad plays, which is something that this team can absolutely do. This is the Commonwealth Stadium Green and Gold Kickoff Show. Matt Iwanyk, Reid Wilkins with you here live at the Commonwealth Stadium Rec Center, just near Commonwealth Stadium as the Elks are getting set to take on the Argos just after 1 o'clock. Welcome to the jungle. It's time to come alive. Get ready to be thunderstruck. These aren't just songs of the biggest concerts of the summer. Guns N' Roses, Foo Fighter, all coming to Commonwealth. AC/DC, Post Malone have already come to Commonwealth. For more information on the biggest shows at Commonwealth Stadium, go to edmonton.ca/Commonwealth. A couple more points before we get to the third story of the game. This in the nasty chat from Dante. Back in the day, a second down draw, toss, or pass to the flat was a regular occurrence. Have to keep them guessing. Running game needs more complexity. Guy in front of me at the game is always upset that they're doing it wrong. So you got to make sure you keep that guy very happy. Our third storyline of this game, playing off of a big story from last game, which was the 3rd and long one that the Edmonton Elks did not go for at the end of the first half. Kick a field goal. Montreal then quickly, two plays later, but the one big play to Sneed gets them in a spot to kick a field goal. A lot of people thinking that game was very different. I do want to first start with a little bit of a clip of Mark Killam, who was on with Reid Wilkins during the Mark Killam show. You can catch it Tuesdays at 5 o'clock right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. But here's a little bit of Mark Killam on part of his answer to you asking him about this 3rd and 1.
I understand the fans' frustration. Listen, I want to go for it all the time. A couple weeks ago in Sask, we did. And we got stopped twice on 3rd and short. So, each one of those is its own entity. I'm never going to, it's bad business to second guess everything that you do. You make decisions based on your preparation, your feel for the moment, how the game's going, and you move forward in game. Now, we evaluate everything. Cody was feeling it. That could have played into it. Maybe moving forward, Cody was, really, had a lot of energy. But I don't regret it. That's not why we lost the football game.
I highlighted that part of his answer there, Reid, where he says Cody was feeling it. Maybe there's a little bit different. Do you think we see a different Mark Killam today? Do you think him as a coach, he will sit there and if there's a moment where we have something similar and Cody is feeling it, do you think he's a different, does he overdo it maybe almost and it's like a little more aggressive today to bounce back from last week? Or does he just have to be the same coach that he's been this year? Yeah, there's different spots and you have to judge it based off of the game situation. But do you think there's a potential maybe for Mark Killam to be a little bit too aggressive today to try to bounce back from last week and doesn't want to have that same situation?
Here's what I think, Matthew. I think the takeaway that Mark got from that was that the offense was rolling. They were having a good drive. They'd made some chunk plays. They converted a couple of second downs.
Yeah, they had 8 plays, 54 yards.
And they appeared to have a bit of a rhythm going. So, and as we saw, Fajardo was not happy coming off the field. I actually think that if they went for that, they should have passed.
Yeah,
because they appeared to have a little bit of a rhythm going passing the ball. But I don't think. I mean, look, as much as we want to look as observers and say, oh well, this coach is conservative or aggressive, or he always goes for it, or he always doesn't. It's not that simple for coaches. They do try to read the game. I think what Mark is taking out of that is that maybe he misread the game. Because, I said, you people don't understand why you went for it on 3rd and 5 from the 5, and you wouldn't go for it on 3rd and 1 or 1.5. And he said, well, he goes, we're inside the 10. We need a touchdown. We don't want to waste that. We were just scoring off a pick. And then the one at the end of the half, he's like, well, let's get points. What was really crippling was the long Montreal gain that was almost a touchdown that turned into a field goal. But I actually don't think that Killam is a conservative coach overall. if you just look at this season, so he went for it on first, third and goal from the 5.
Yep.
He went for it 3rd and 2 on the Saskatchewan 50, and Cordy botched the snap.
Yep.
And he went for it 3rd and 2 against the Alouettes, and Rankin almost got stuffed and broke it for a touchdown.
There was 2 third down attempts in that Saskatchewan game.
Well, the one they got stuffed on, though, was 3rd and 5 inches. When that's where they turned the ball. I mean, that was a no-brainer to go for.
Yeah,
I mean, that was not a coaching error.
Fair. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Both those.
There was also one in
those
Winnipeg,
third down
was there
failures,
not?
There probably are other ones I'm not thinking of, but both the third downs that didn't work out in Saskatchewan were player error, not bad coaching decisions. So I don't think that I'd hesitate to label him a conservative coach. But I think maybe he saw in that situation, it's like, okay, we went for it from the 5 because we needed to get a touchdown. Maybe we would be better off just going for it there. Like, my quarterback is feeling great. My quarterback is, the body language is let's go. Like, we got this, So I think what I took out of that is maybe he felt a little bit like maybe I showed that I should have just trusted my players more. And you don't want to let the players make the calls, but there was half a game left.
Yes.
So, and if they go for it, and that's because they were on about the 20. If they would have failed, well, then Montreal is 20 yards further back. They probably aren't as aggressive.
They go to half, possibly just wanting the 7.
So they probably would have been down 7 anyway if they got stuffed. But maybe Montreal wouldn't have had the momentum of getting that play. But it's become an interesting thing to talk about. And I think it'll get even more interesting next year with the longer field goals, assuming they stick with these rule changes. Because now it's another 15 yards onto field goals. So even if you're at the, what yard line were they on? About the 22 for the Alouettes, I think?
Yeah, they were just outside the red zone last week, so that was week 10.
It's still obviously a makeable kick for most kickers, but maybe, those few percentage points down.
It was a 25-yard kick. They were on the Montreal 18.
Oh, so they were on the 18. Yeah.
I thought they were just outside.
So that next year that'll be a 42-yard kick?
Yeah.
So you're probably still making it, but that might change. It'll be interesting to see how, or as you say, will they start punting from 25?
That's the one thing. One thing we've seen this year a number of times is teams, be it the opposing 45, 46, let's say, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, and they'll punt it. It'll go into the end zone, and the ball gets placed at the 40.
Yes.
So it's a net difference of only 4, 5, 6 yards that we're seeing, and teams are still going for it. Teams are still, or not going for it. They're still punting, and that's the cause of concern next year. Where I think, are we going to see pooch kicks because they're not going to trust that their kicker?
Yeah.
Because you don't want it to. It's not going to come short. They don't want it to fall short because it's the worst situation to have. It's that momentum of the returner trying to take it out.
Yes.
So what are they going to do? And I just don't trust the coaches are going to want to go for a 3rd and 7, a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 2, 3, 4. That one's going to be the interesting one. Last week, they would. What I would say though is last week. Okay, so it's Montreal 18. Are you actually going to try that 40-some yarder, or does that make Mark Killam want to go for it a little bit more because he goes? Once you get beyond 40, is that fully a guarantee in the Canadian Football League? Sorry, it's not as a guarantee of 3 points as opposed to
be really
absolutely.
The one thing where I would say maybe Killam's being a little conservative is when they could try a 52-yarder
and he's not doing it.
They punt. They're at the 44 or the 43. They've been punting more often than not. They tried the long field goal against Saskatchewan because they had to, and the previous week against
they're at the Montreal 47
Ottawa,
last week.
Tried a long one.
Montreal 47 last week on their first drive, and they punted. So that would have been a 53, 54-yard field goal?
Yeah, it would have been basically from midfield.
And choosing not to go for it.
Right. Like, I get the field position game, and I suppose next year they would punt that for sure. But in this situation, I don't know. You got a kicker with leg talent for a reason. Let him use the talent. And
he showed in the big pressure against Saskatchewan he can do it.
Yeah.
So you should be able to trust him in other points of the game. And the guy's only missed 2 kicks this season. And what's great is there were 2 kicks that weren't important to the impact, to the result of the game. Like, kickers aren't going to go perfect. You can't expect that. So there are going to be misses. Love it when it's in situations where you don't look back and be like, it cost you this football game. But yeah, I think you're 100% right. I don't think Mark Killam's a different coach today, outside of maybe reading the situation a little bit differently. I don't think we're going to see him be a lot more aggressive. I don't think we're going to see a lot more third down gambles today, which is what I want to see. I don't want an overcorrection from something that he saw last week, but it's just something, there's going to be a lot of fans that are going to see a 3rd and 2 maybe today and go just immediately, and they're always going to do it, but go for it, but also in their mind, go for it because look what happened last week. And how's Mark Killam, how's he going to respond to that one? That's something else to watch for in this game that is coming up between the Edmonton Elks and the Toronto Argonauts. Elks having lost their last 2 games, taking on the Argonauts who have won their last 2 games. This is the Commonwealth Stadium Green and Gold Kickoff Show. Matt Iwanyk, Reid Wilkins with you here as that game will get going in about 20 minutes time. Just a reminder, Labor Day is coming up rather soon, September 7th. Edmonton Elks will be in Calgary, as they always are for Labor Day. And the Edmonton Elks and Edmonton Sports Talk, we're heading down on the Labor Day bus. We did it last year. We're bringing it back this year. We got 2 buses going down. They will come from Commonwealth Stadium. We'll take you down. You'll get 2 drinks on the way down. There'll be a stop in Red Deer to stretch the legs a little bit. You'll be able to enjoy the Calgary tailgate for a little bit and then get to the game, enjoy the game with a bunch of your fellow nasties as well as Double E fans. And then on the way back, there'll be some pizza, and we'll get you back here 10:30ish, so then you can go get ready for your next day. So you could have safe travels down to Calgary. You can make sure you're not sitting with a bunch of Stamps fans and you're sitting with like-minded fans. For tickets, it's $160 plus GST. All you have to do is go to edmontonsportstalk.com, click on the link at the very top. You'll say Labor Day Bus, or you could go goelks.com/Labor Day Bus. Also, reminder, use the promo code EST Labor Day, EST Labor Day, and you'll get $15 off of that Labor Day bus as well. So come join us, Lieutenant Eric, Zach, myself. We'll all be heading down for the Labor Day game in Calgary on the couple buses that I know. We sold them out last year. Had a lot of messages in the last few weeks saying, hey, is the bus coming back? Is the bus coming back? We finally have announced that the bus will be back this year. So I'm sure those will sell out quite quickly. So get your tickets now. Jump on board on that bus. Let's hear from, actually, before we hear from Tyrell Ford, I do want to point out something, because I found this a little interesting reading up on this game. Cody Fajardo is going to make his 23rd straight start for the Edmonton Elks.
Oh, really?
It's the longest consecutive streak of starting quarterback for the Edmonton Elks since Michael Riley in 2018.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. They've been through a few.
Isn't that? But 23 straight starts, it's about a little over a season. We're not even close to 2 seasons. Now, Trevor Harris also battled a little bit of injuries in there, but since 2018, the Edmonton Elks, this is the longest stretch that we've had one starting quarterback take the field for the Double E consecutively, and it's Cody Fajardo with 23 straight. Do I have his record here in that span? Might be here. He also last week became the 9th player in CFL history to have 100 passing TDs and 50 passing TDs.
His first game last year was in Saskatchewan.
He's 12-10 with the Edmonton Elks.
Right, because last year he would have been...
It was the Saskatchewan
6 and...
Well, he's 6-3 now, and if he's 12-10, he would have been 6-7.
Yeah, he was 6-7 last year because they were 1-4 when he took over. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, they make the playoffs last year if he plays the whole year. I've said that. They had to try with Trey Ford. I was on board with it, but that's one of the reasons they didn't make the playoffs last year. That's
one of the reasons. The other reason is, honestly, there's probably 5 plays that are different. If Julian Grange catches that play against Hamilton,
yep,
and if they don't blow those 2 games leads against Toronto and Hamilton, yep, there's 3 wins. What happens if they have 3 more wins last season? What would have it been? 2025. They would have been 10-8. They had the tiebreaker over Winnipeg. They're a crossover team.
Yeah.
That's how there's probably about 5 or 6 plays that could be different next year too, or if maybe things are a little bit different at the start of the season if Cody plays. But
that's why I don't downplay winning close games. Like when I get the comment, it's like, oh well, but it was only overtime they beat Montreal. Oh well, it was the last play of the game in Saskatchewan.
They lost those the last number of years. Yeah.
Like, are the Patriots going to give back a couple Super Bowls they won on the last play?
Or they would love to have some Super Bowls back for close ones at the end. Well, yeah, like the Kansas City Trips 2 years ago were a team that won all those late games. They came down to the wire. They won them. Last year, they was actually reversed for the Kansas City Chiefs. They missed the playoffs.
Right.
That's you're absolutely right with that. That one is just football. We'll get to our keys to an Elks victory as well as prediction. But first, let's hear from one of the defenders that will be looking to take the ball away from Chad Kelly this week. He's got 5 interceptions on the season. He had 2 last week. Tyrell Ford spoke with the media just a couple of days ago.
Tyrell, you've had a couple days here to kind of look back at the game on Saturday against Montreal. How do you assess what happened?
I mean, we had a couple mental mistakes on the coverages. Obviously, they happened to be big plays. We didn't tackle well. We weren't physical enough. They're a better team. They won. That's all it was.
So what's the focus this week heading into that game against Toronto on Saturday?
Just getting back to ourselves, playing Edmonton football, believing in each other, listening to the coaching, little details. Nothing crazy.
You guys started off really well, 6-1, kind of the first, stumble, if you will, first losing streak of the season anyway, with 2 straight losses. How is the team kind of handling that? What do you guys have to do to kind of regroup here heading into this?
I don't think anybody's really freaking out. If you look, we lost to Montreal and Sask, who are top 2 teams. We played Sask 2 weeks in a row, and then Montreal, kind of tough part of the schedule. It's just kind of how it goes. I don't think anybody's worried about it. We just got to get back to being us.
When you look at the explosives that have been given up the last 3 games, I think you've given up 8. I think in the game at home in Saskatchewan, they give up any, but you had 4 in Sask, you had 4 in Montreal, the 30-plus plays. Tell me about just the emphasis on trying to clean that up, because I think you had 6 only in the first 5 or 6 games.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to lose games, giving up explosion plays. So we just got to, again, a lot of the stuff too, was just mental busts. I think maybe one of them, I think Phil Pott made a nice catch, but I mean, the 50-50 balls, I could live with that. That's okay. That's football, that happens. But again, the mental side, we got to be better. We can't be.
Yeah. Is it tough when you get an injury too? You got to.
I think that's kind of where I guess most of it came from. But again, if you're going to be good when it comes to playoff time, injuries happen, stuff happens. Got to be on the same page.
And then having the benefit of a practice week with the alignment you hope you're going into on Saturday, how much does that benefit? Because you're getting some reps in together.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a couple new pieces, but it's guys that they've been rotating in and they've been getting reps. So we just, I guess maybe they just got to get comfortable, or maybe the lights were too bright or something. I don't know, but we just gotta figure it out and make sure we're on the same page. We got to talk before the plays.
Can you talk about where you guys are now at DBs from the start of the year? Like, you guys led the league in knockdowns at the start of the year because you couldn't catch them, right? And then all of a sudden, it's like a switch went, and you're catching everything that comes near you.
I mean, yeah, we just dropped a whole bunch early in the season. We probably should have way more. But yeah, we're just catching them now. That's it. Yeah.
Just the worm turns.
Yeah, just how it goes.
How about for you personally? I mean, 5 picks now. I know you use the word comfort a lot. Is that just down to it? You're just comfortable?
Nah, I just caught the ball this time, I guess. I mean, I still dropped 2. Those ones still bug me. So I'm like, man, I should have 7. But again, it doesn't matter because we lost the game. So 2's cool, but a win would have been better. So yeah.
Do you lick your lips with a guy coming in who's throwing 13 interceptions this year?
Well, I mean, for all the quarterbacks, I'm always open, so they could throw it to me. I won't be mad. But I mean, he's a good quarterback. He's got a big arm. I mean, yeah, I'll be out there though. I'll be waiting on something. Bad decision.
See if he can find you.
Yeah.
There's Tyrell Ford speaking with the media down at Elks practice as the Elks are getting set to take on the Toronto Argonauts. This is the Commonwealth Stadium Green and Gold Kickoff Show live from the Community Rec Center near Commonwealth Stadium. Iwanyk and Reid Wilkins with you here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Your clear choice for Edmonton Sports presented by Play Alberta. Quick kickoff question. We'll just quickly update the polling on this one. Heading into the second half of the season for the Elks, based on what you've seen in the first half, what are your expectations for the team? 43% saying just make the playoffs, 30% host semi, 20% host West final, and about 7% say Grey Cup appearance, which is just high, lofty goals from some of those fans. Dustin Nilsson's about to walk in as we wrap up. Reid, your key to an Edmonton Elks victory.
Well, I'll be boring. I'll say turnovers.
Saw your parents.
Oh, good. Yeah. Thanks for taking care of them. Oh, good. That's awesome. Thanks. Thank you, Dustin.
Enjoy the game in the seats.
Yeah, he's going. Yeah, I mean, I'll be a little boring and say turnovers, but specifically because there's the potential for the Elks to get some picks today. And then Tyrell Ford said, like the explosive plays. I think there will be explosive plays both ways in this game. But I think the Elks, I think that the Elks have the talent on offense to get as many explosive plays as Toronto, if not more. And then I think the Elks defense can negate a Toronto explosive play by then getting a turnover later in the drive.
These two teams are near the top when it comes to big plays. That is my key to the game, is capitalizing on the possibility of big plays against the Argos while limiting it themselves. The Elks have 28 big plays as a team this season. And big plays include major kick returns or 20-plus passing, or rushing 30-plus passing plays. The Elks are at 28. The Argos are at 30, so they have a couple more. The Elks have given up 28 big plays, including, I think it was about 5 or 6 last week against Montreal. Toronto has given up 28. So the Elks are dead on +0, +/-0.
The Elks have played an additional game.
They have played an additional game. The Argos are +2 in this one. So both teams do know how to make big plays, but both teams also give up those big plays. There's that opportunity there for this. And then also Chad Kelly. There's an opportunity. The ball will be up. You got to take that. But the key part to that one is capitalizing. It's got to be 7. It can't be 3. Once again, Chad Kelly twice this season has thrown 4 interceptions, and the Toronto Argonauts have found a way to win both of those games. If Chad Kelly has 4 interceptions this afternoon, the Edmonton Elks should be winning this football game by 2 or 3 scores, I would have to think, with how good they are as a football team or what we expect from them. I generally don't do these. These are Jay. I don't know if you'll want to do one. Do you want a prediction?
I'm filling in for Jay, so I guess I got to do it.
What's your prediction?
I hesitate to do these as well.
That's fine.
I like talking more in concepts.
That's fair.
I'll do a prediction today. I think the Elks are going to win. I do think it'll be. I do think there'll be some big plays. Might get a little wild at times. I'll even give a score. I will not do what Brendan Eric did, and, who predicted Winnipeg would beat Ottawa 56-1. I'll predict some points. I'll predict a bit of a wild Saturday afternoon affair. How about this? Elks beat the Argos 44-29.
Oh, I love it. High points. Fans go home happy. What a great football game that will be. Jay has made it known, and he referenced the joke that he always just picks the Elks anyways. Even in all those bad years, he still picked the Elks because why not? What are we doing here?
Why not?
This was the Commonwealth Stadium Green and Gold Kickoff Show. Reed, I really appreciate you stepping in for Jay on the Kickoff Show. Would you like to do it for the postgame show?
Yes. No,
awesome.
If it's a close game, do I have to leave early?
As long as you're here for the start of the show.
Well, I can't. Then I have to leave early because I'm going to have to get through the people.
It usually takes me about, I would say by the time the game ends, I want to say it's upwards of 5 minutes before I get on the air. So you could stand close to the spot and watch the end and then walk over. It's a short walk.
Yeah, well, it's not far at all.
No.
No.
It's wonderful being partnered with Commonwealth Stadium.
It's probably a 2-minute walk, really.
Yeah.
If I were to go near the stairs and wait, if it was
depending
dramatic.
how quickly you could walk and get through a crowd, you can stay till the very end.
Hopefully it's the after the 3-minute warning in the second half is just a formality for an Elks victory.
Well, if it's 44-29, as your prediction says, you'll have plenty of time to get here because it will be. Thanks to everyone for tuning into the Commonwealth Stadium Green and Gold Kickoff Show right here at Edmonton Sports Talk. Your clear choice for Edmonton sports. On our audio channel, we have What Were We Saying coming up at 2 o'clock. We also have Oil Stream replay. And then Reed and I will be right back here for the Commonwealth Stadium Green and Gold postgame show once this one is all over, recapping the action. Again, on behalf of Reed, I'm Matt. Thanks for tuning in to the Kickoff Show. Enjoy the football game. We'll talk to you right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Your clear choice for Edmonton Sports, presented by Play Alberta once the game is over.